Hi, my name is Kiran. I was fellow in 2019.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, my name is Pavlo. I'm a visual artist. I'm mainly working with video, and I was a fellow in 2020.
I'm Fan. I am one of the most recent fellow. I think it, oh my God, it ended in December, I think. Yeah, it wasn't long ago. So yeah, and I'm in Penang, Malaysia right now. It's really hot. I'm not I'm not bragging. It just yeah, it's the weather is really hot right here. Sorry for those who are suffering the winter.
Well, we're
Hi.
expecting to see the sun maybe once today.
Hopefully, at least once today. It is very cold. The groundhog said 6 more weeks of winter, and it feels like that will be very true. Uh, so since you guys were all in New York, honestly, at very different times, Pavlo, at what point in 2020 were you in New York?
I was just before the COVID started. Yeah, it was January
Okay.
2020. Yeah.
So still a pretty precarious time, especially in comparison to 2019, where we weren't thinking about COVID at all, and then 2024, um, totally after, like vaccines and everything. Um, just for each of you, what was it like to be in New York at that time?
I can start with that if you don't mind. For me, it was really incredible and life-changing event. And it was also my first time in the US. It was my first time in New York, and it was probably my first time ever to be in such diverse society, in such intense society. And also, the program itself was intense. And yeah, for me, it was both great and inspiring. And I can say that after this point, I probably became totally different person. Yeah.
You should point out where you are from.
Yeah, I'm from Ukraine originally. I've been living in different countries in Russia, in Norway, and currently living in US. Yep.
So, how are you feeling? Uh, you're in a particularly unique situation now with what's going on in the world. Are you feeling comfortable staying in New York? What you probably have. I don't mean to invade your head, but you've probably got a lot of things going on.
Yeah, I can say that for now, and as I feel it now, New York is a really safe space for me, which is unexpectedly great. And yeah, and it was hard the first year when the war started. It was hard to be in a distance and trying to help the people I know and the people I don't know. And just it was hard to process the events and to understand what does it mean for me being here to see what's going on in Ukraine. And yeah, but after the first year, I did work out um, some things, and I'm really happy to be here and to be able to work here, to stay here, and to enjoy this place.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a tough situation. Um, Kiran,
Okay,
you spoke about the fact that you had so many different things going on when you were here. I remember you were thinking about applying to graduate school here,
right.
and as you mentioned before, there was just a lot going on for you. How did all that resolve?
Um, so being in New York, well, for one, that I'd never been there before, and it was I don't think I would have experienced the city the way the program integrated and allowed me to, had I come on my own. And I think experiencing the city through the program, through the fellowship, was phenomenal. I think it was very exciting. It was also created um, various kind of experiences for me to kind of immerse myself in, some that I don't think that I would have otherwise. Um, and uh, and of course, as Pablo has already spoken about how intense the program was, I think it was very overwhelming as well. But I think those challenges and those experiences of also uh, being in situations and meeting really interesting people and having these wonderful conversations um, that would beyond our practice were really kind of eye-opening, and that allowed a great deal of introspection and reflection. And at that time, when I had found myself in the program and part of the fellowship, I think it was also a time where I think I had so many questions where I was also looking at my practice, and I was also finding and wanting to find a deeper meaning to what I was doing. And I think having those conversations with you as well really made me realize that the aspect and the sense of community and identity and belonging and all those kind of queries that we have become so pertinent when we think of ourselves beyond our practice. And how does one kind of give back and integrate ourselves within the place where we are situated and where we are from? And I think the kind of activities and the kind of programming that was structured really kind of put us in all sorts of situations. I'm wondering if it was structured similarly for everyone and if we all had similar kind of experiences, or if the program kind of restructured based on every kind of fellow that came in. I think that would be interesting for me to kind of also learn from the others if they'd had certain kind of similar situations where they found themselves really like reflective upon what they were really doing. And I think when I came back, yes, it was like COVID was beginning and there was a lot of like lockdown happening. So all of those ideas that I came back with, I didn't exactly have time to reflect or act upon immediately. I think it gave me at least more time to sit with it. And I think it was really difficult because I wasn't really like from being out and about and, experiencing that 1 month of intensive kind of work to come back and be really like reflective and be kind of stuck in one space. I think that was also challenging. And I spoke to Abby from the program in between, where we were kind of talking about 6 months into and after my fellowship. And what I have done is that I have taken those notions, taken those ideas that I left with, and I've kind of integrated it within my practice in a way that I am. So I'm also a professor at a university here, where I'm also working with my students and kind of having those similar conversations where it's more about the aspect of community and giving back and being more conscious of what we're creating and why we're creating it. But of course, as we move forward, I can expand more on that. But it was very overwhelming and to conclude, and it was very heartwarming to have been there and to have had those experiences.
Let me bring Katerina in here so she can introduce herself and say what she's up to if she's willing to do that. Or not.
But so I think you brought up something really interesting, Kiran, this idea of like how each of you experienced New York. So I mean, we obviously can't go through each of your entire schedules. Sorry, I just like while we're waiting for Katrina. You can't go through each of your full schedules, but if you could just talk about maybe something that was very interesting for you, an activity that was very interesting or inspiring for you during your fellowship, so you guys can kind of compare in that way. You know, anyone can start.
Oh, okay. Well, let's let Katerina just jump in here because we have her so she can introduce herself and give us particulars.
Hello, everyone. My name is Katerina, and I'm I'm friend, and I knew a lot of people who were fellowship of your program, and actually I also an artist and live in New York, and next month I will be participating in your one-day program, like to be a one-day fellow of your program. So I'm very excited because of that.
Okay.
Yeah, and yeah, this is why I'm here, and it is interesting to learn more about what I do. Yeah.
Thank you.
So who do you know, and did you see any change in them after the program?
Yes, I think that it's hard to say that it's happened like immediately. I think it's just something what inspired people and what can change the opportunity to think about art world.
Yeah. Good. Okay, so I guess we can move to Fan. I don't mean to be go ahead, Nia.
Sorry,
So
just
yeah,
to reiterate, yeah, kind of talking about your the activities that really stood out to you during your individual fellowships, and it'd be a good chance for you guys to relate to the similarities and differences.
yes, like Kiran, I also needed to do a bit of a revision of what I've done because it was close to 70 activities. And by reading through the journal, there are things that I didn't even remember I did some of those. So it was great that I did journal. So some of the activities that I remember very clearly was learning the Haitian Creole language. So that was one of the more beautiful things that I've done. Actually, I really personally love most of the programs at the New York Public Library. Coming from Malaysia, I feel really jealous of we don't really have that sort of institution here that conduct free programs for people in so many different subjects. So learning Haitian Creole was one of the highlights, and also going to jazz parlor at in Harlem. That was just incredible. I really hope that the future fellows and everyone would just go there. Yeah, watching Marjorie Elliott and other jazz musicians playing on a Sunday afternoon was one of the most beautiful experiences that I take home with during my fellowship in New York. Yeah.
Knew you were
Did
gonna
you?
say the Marjorie Elliot performance, you paused after mentioning Haitian Creole, and I was like, he's going to talk about Marjorie because when you came to meet with me after you saw that performance, it was like life altering.
Right. Did you go?
I haven't gone yet. It's terrible of me because it's right around my corner. It's in my neighborhood. Every Sunday I think about it, especially
Yeah.
because you had such a powerful experience with it.
Did Kiran or Pavlo, did either of you guys go up to Marjorie's? It was a jazz
Oh, was it in a neighborhood and we had to go
in Harlem.
through, it was in an apartment? Yeah. I remember finding it. It was also a little difficult. Navigating the city was also exciting. Yeah, I do remember. I think that was really wonderful. It it was really like hidden somewhere, like a hidden gem. It was lovely. Yeah, absolutely. I remember.
One of the things that a lot of people have a tendency to remark on how many activities New York City offers. And they say, we don't have these kinds of things back home. But I wonder if things like Marjorie's apartment, those kinds of things can happen at home. Are they happening around you, but they're just small and you don't know, or every so often you catch one of them? And Pablo, did you get up to Marjorie's? I don't recall.
I'm not sure about that, but I had a wonderful tour through the Harlem, and which was ended in a jazz club. So that was interesting to learn how time is changing places and how we still are connected to the events that were there. And in terms of some small events, I can say that it definitely requiring some efforts to keep tracking what's going on around and constantly try to keep yourself out of your bubble or of what you think in this world is. And yeah, it is, but it is also interesting to see how something new appearing just around the corner, or learn more about people who are living in the same district, in the same block, and are doing incredible things, which sometimes you are not aware of. Yeah.
One of the main things that we want people to get out of the program is to find out that things that they don't think they want to do or will enjoy, and then you go and do it, and you found that it was not what you expected. One of the things that a lot of people remark on is the improv experience. I don't know if everyone did that. And Katerina, an improv where they go in. In fact, I'll let one of them describe their improv experience if they would be willing to.
I was terrified because I was like, what am I getting myself into? I not very good with improv, not very good with putting myself out there, where it was also had to be very like on the spot, and there was a lot of like mixed emotions that I was feeling because I was like, oh God, this is like out of my comfort zone. But having gone through the process and that workshop that we had, uh, I think it was also learning about little things about yourself that we aren't very open to sometimes, or it feels like, okay, this is a little um, not something that we would do otherwise. And to be doing it, I think that's also kind of was like, okay, another crack here, another crack there. We're opening up and allowing ourselves to feel something totally different. So I think it was, and I came back and that was my reflection. And I was like, oh God, I was terrified, but it went so well. It was super exciting. I would have totally do it again.
Are you going to?
Well, if I come to New York, sure. We don't have many of those here.
You don't? You don't think so?
Well, I like going to improvs, but if I were to have an immersive experience where I become part of it, yeah, I guess I could. But not something that I am still seeking particularly. But if I find myself in it, I'll sure be like, I'll be up for it.
So you need Nia to set up a schedule
Maybe.
so that you will go do it.
I think so. I think maybe Nia and I can do that together and set up another schedule for me, maybe back home.
Good, good. Pavlo, did you go to the improv?
I'm not sure. I was on a musical improv. It's probably not the same, right?
I don't think so, but did you have to sing?
No, you need to play drums.
Oh, you were at a drum session.
Yeah.
Was that good?
It was interesting because it was a group improvisation and it was something what I was doing for the first time in my life, and it was great to jump in and to try to catch the rhythm and to like do something collectively without knowing anybody and connecting with them through the sound and your ability just to create it from nothing. Yeah, and that was interesting. That was also charging, and that was also leaving a trace and like sound trace for next couple of days.
Huh, nice. Fun. Did you do the improv?
I did do the improv at Times Square somewhere, one of those buildings, but it wasn't pleasant because the instructor was as nervous as the participants. So it was the whole thing was just nervous. But I mean, in retrospect, right, the whole idea about improvisation, I think the whole fellowship is the whole improvisation, if we can look at it in a wider sense, because the setting, the place is fixed, but we don't really know what to expect. We really always have to improv as we go, because many of the places, in the first few activities, I try to explain why I'm there. Then I stop doing that anymore because nobody actually cares. And it just go into this weird conversation about what is Apex art and why you're an artist and what you're doing here. So oftentimes I just tell everyone, I'm curious, can I join? Everyone would just say yes, so that is the improvisation that is more, I think that I remember more about the improv class. My one wasn't that great. Yeah.
Did you bring that sensibility home with you?
In a way, yes. I think after the fellowship, I hope it's not in a bad way. I feel like I can just walk into any sort of events and observe and try to apply myself and be one of them. I feel the fellowship has done that to me. I hope I'm not one of those obnoxious strangers that just kind of gate crash everyone's events and party and just be with them. I hope not in a bad way if I do that, even if I do
Yeah.
that.
Well, I think that's a good takeaway.
Yeah.
Is there anything like specifically that you've done so far? I mean, this is for everyone, but I'm also just like honing into what you mentioned about feeling like you can walk into places now.
No, I mean, before you walk, you really should just, observe the cultural nuances, the places that you can be and can. And oftentimes, people in this sort of communal setting, people are very welcoming. So I haven't quite done that, but specifically, but there are places that I'm planning to not gate crash, but to, observe
Yeah,
and
join. You don't really gate crash for the activities here either because they're so open. They're open to the
yeah,
public. Yeah. So even though you might not feel like you're part of the community, I think that
yeah.
feeling like you're a gate crasher might be more of a internal feeling as opposed to the way that the organizers feel about it. Like they want people to come. Um, but I don't know if anyone else has had a chance to I guess Pavlo, you live in New York now. So for Kiran, if you actually also for Pablo, but in New York, and then for Kiran in Karachi, if you've had a chance to do anything that you did while you were in your fellowship afterwards. I know not improv, but something else.
I can say that one of the impacts of the program was actually my ability mentally to be able to live in a different societies and to not have any stop signs or whatever thoughts, because after the program, sometime after that, I realized that there is no reason for me um, to think that I cannot do something, and that's why I'm here now in New York, and it is also a great thing to not be scared of anything and just jump in the next event and see what it is and how you like it.
Yeah, for me, it was more reflective, really. I think everything that was part of the fellowship and part of the programming, I took it as a way as to how I can learn from it. And I think that mindset has stayed for me, where being in situations was never something that I was afraid of or afraid of being part of or doing something that I would necessarily or unnecessarily not do back home. I think for me, it was about finding purpose and meaning, and I think that space and time, because you're so caught up in making and creating and working, that I don't think you have those pauses. And I think I found those pauses within the fellowship, where it gave me the opportunity to think a little deeper about my own kind of practice and how I'm either giving back or connecting to the larger community. And I think for me, the activities that I kind of sat well were making compost or looking at the cultural ways of preservation that were done in certain parts of New York, and also ways of volunteering at like these, we were, there was one, I think there was an old age home, I think that's where we were senior citizens, right? And we were there, and I was also there was another where it was just about these donations that had come in, flowers that we were putting together for them to go to, I think, hospitals and um, towards other causes that I felt like these things gave me a little more purpose to think beyond sometimes just creating. And I think that is something that I have tried to bring back with me, and where if I were conscious of it and it was there, I think it just kind of amplified it a little more. And I find myself often thinking back of these things that I had done in New York and how I connected back to here, because there was so much learning in all of that. I think it's also because it's uncharted territory and not my comfort zone. It's a different city altogether. I think there's different things that you learn from what's happening and how it's structured, and how do you bring that understanding back and maybe apply it here or integrate it here. And I think those were really things that kind of stood out for me. Um, and I think it, yeah, I think that's what it was, if that makes sense.
It's, in all of your answers, I'm hearing that, there's in some ways the fellowship has instilled a level of confidence to just like go for these sort of non-art related activities that you might not have done before, and also that you feel like you're able to learn from these situations. Like, and I think that's really important because, like, I think, Fan, you mentioned it's like about 70 or so activities, and it's true, it's a lot of activities from a lot of different organizations and people all throughout New York. And a lot of them happen as we'd like them to, and sometimes they don't. And so it's just like, how do you um, roll with the punches, this sort of like improv of the entire fellowship, what you're mentioning earlier, and learning from even from the cancellations, I think is really important. Uh, Kiran, you've mentioned a couple of times like how your practice generally. And again, this is a question for all of the panelists, but how do you feel that your practice has changed post the fellowship?
I wouldn't say that my practice, of course, it evolves as
Yeah.
we work over the years. The work does evolve, but I think there's a sense of values and aspects of time that you want to make for other things. And I think that balance is definitely there. And the I think it's very much reflective of being I didn't introduce myself as any artist or where I came from or why I was in New York or why, when I was there. It was purely about me there as an individual, really detached from my kind of like aspect of what I had been doing for so long. And and to really kind of park that and see yourself as just, a person who doesn't have these extensions. How do you kind of learn and take from it? So I would say that definitely I think there's more of an understanding of myself, and I think that feeds into my work. So by default, I think the aspects of I felt like I learned a lot. I definitely there was a lot of growth, not just personally, but yes, professionally too. And I think those aspects of even wanting my practice to be beyond I, and I think that which is why I'm thinking of, say, even if I'm doing research or I'm looking at my own history. So there is also that aspect of how does that extend from yourself to something larger. And I think that is what I took from it.
Pavlo?
Yeah, I can add to that for me, I learned that there is no urgency or necessity to build any kind of career in terms of artistic practice. And I became more calm and more more person concentrated on living experiences rather than like artistic pots or so yeah, I'm just enjoying life more and making art when I want, and I don't feel any deadline pressure or whatever exhibitions needed to be done. I'm just enjoying more, and I think this is an important thing that I learned.
um, to build on what Pavlo said just now about being calm, I think for that whole 1 month, actually, I didn't miss making work. I didn't need to make any work. It was just, it was so much happening. There's a lot for every experiences that I had. It was enough. I didn't feel there was a need that I need to say something or make something out of it. Another thing was also there's something about the idea about community. I think a lot of these events that we can attend because they make themselves public, meaning hence Nia can actually find these activities for us to go into. And to be part of those community, a lot of time we just need to be present, So that is something that I think, especially I can apply back home, be present with people that I care about or ideologically aligned with, these are the people that I feel I want to give my time to. I want to be part of that, other than my own practice. So this is what maybe something that I was doing subconsciously, but it became more clearer to me that how I want to use my time and to the people I care about, to the community I care about. So yeah.
So then the follow-up about, I guess, the change in your practices is kind of shifting towards the exhibition that's going on right now, which is the celebration of the Apex Art Fellowship, and how the work included in 30 Days of Culture Shock relates to your fellowship.
Okay, I can start first. I said yes to Stephen without actually knowing what was that exhibition was about. But there was a piece of work that I made that I haven't shown anywhere, and I thought it kind of fits with my experience being in New York. It was just me cycling around in the town during lockdown. There was nobody. I was going against the traffic lights. I was just like speeding like crazy. It felt like that during my time in New York. I was so pumped, adrenaline pumped up, I really crashed the moment I landed back in Penang. So it kind of captured my energy during lockdown while I was in New York. It felt like that. It was this city that nobody knew me. I am just another person. Nobody actually care what you do, and I didn't have to take myself too seriously. So it kind of had that energy. During lockdown, it was a lot of anxiety, and you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So yeah, it was just a video of me cycling in the town. There's no car, no other human being around.
Well,
Yeah.
let me,
Sorry.
please.
Yeah, well, in my case, it was a sketch of a future video work with my friend Alexander Budai, and yeah, I can say that it was some special tie to the program. It was a great opportunity to show something that you're working on without being in a competition and being chosen by something. It's a great chance to share for me.
Yeah, likewise. I said yes without really really knowing what I'm getting myself into. But what I am doing right now is so I there's a lot of use of the grid in my work in general. And I have been actually dissecting and trying to understand the purpose and concept of white space as a vacuum in graphic design. And I basically and it's a starting point for me to examine and to understand space and design. And that's where my grid work came from. And it's just process work that I kind of really shared, that I'm hoping that I can contextualize it a little more and see how that kind of evolves. So I guess it's more questioning what I'm doing and why I'm doing it.
I have a question for Pablo and Katrina in particular. How are you relating to New York? And I also want Kiran and Pan to answer that, what New York represents to you. What is your impression of New York after having been here? But Katrina, I think I detected a bit of a California accent.
No, originally I'm from Belarus. Yeah, and I live in New York for a little bit more than 2 years. I really like this city, and I visited New York several times before I moved, but it was shocking. I mean, because you never know how everything will go after you move to a new place. So I really enjoy my time here, and I think that all these 2 years I feel myself like I learning all the time from people, from situations, from new cultures, different communities, and everything. Yeah.
I feel New York in general is really, really chaotic. But at the same time, it's very, very alive. I don't know if it makes sense. There's an image that I kind of stuck in my head when I've been back and I've been thinking a lot about it, and I'm kind of regretted I didn't do. There's one thing that I wanted to do that I didn't do was there was these ladies in the subway. I think they are Southern American. I'm not too sure. They always carry a baby.
Yeah.
And they were selling churros. And there was this image that stuck in my head. It was these churros that stack up like Jenga game. And then they cling film around that. So because for me, Jenga is all about balance, stacking it as high as possible is all about aspiration. And I don't know who implanted this idea in my head that I must try churros in New York, which I didn't. And also I told myself I must try to buy a churros off one of these ladies before I got back, which I didn't get the chance to do that. But it was just this cling film churros stack up like Jenga that got stuck in my head, So maybe this is the New York I can, describe, because I was constantly working on the ground level until I was brought to Marianne's husband took me to Lincoln. It was one of the few times I can actually see New York from a higher vantage point, It's also about people living in the same city, but everyone is experiencing it very, very differently. So yeah, I'm still processing all this, but the churros and the Jenga was the image that I have. If I have to make something about my experience, I think this is what I want to, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
oh, you want
Sorry.
to go?
No,
Go
you
for
go.
it.
You go
No,
first.
go for it, Pavlo. I will wait.
I have just a short comment that for me, it is, as Katerina mentioned, it is unexpected. It is an unexpected experience every time you go out, actually, not when you're just moving in the city, but yeah, and it is in a good way, and you're always learning something. And I think that is a reason why this place is feeling such alive. Yeah.
So I agree with everyone, and I definitely felt that. So I'm from a city which kind of functions in that chaotic and also really calm way at the same time. Karachi is similar. I was drawing a lot of parallels in that respect as to there was a certain pace, and that pace was fast. And to keep up with it, and also to keep up with the program, because the schedule was really tight. I think the city is also very multicultural, and also there was a lot happening. And also at the same time, there was a lot of preservation of history, and so it was really exciting. It definitely felt very alive at all times of the day and night, and it was really also exciting to kind of be a part of.
Would you host a fellow?
I would love to. I've been saying it for a while.
Okay, fun. Would you host a fellow?
Yes, I already offered to you when
You
we
offered before he left.
Okay.
I would love to play Nia's role.
You'd
You
have to
know.
work with me though.
That's
Yeah.
impossible. I'm sorry, Fan, but I don't think you can do as well as Nia is doing. But
I will learn.
and Katerina, will you do something with a fellow? Do an activity with a fellow here?
Not yet, but who knows, probably in the future. Also,
We'll see after how she feels after she does the fellow for a day.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good idea.
Wow, I feel like I've learned a lot about all of your experiences. I mean, I only worked with Fan. I didn't work with Pavlo and Kiran, so this has also been, I think, great for me to hear. I love hearing from fellows and how their experiences were. I'd also love, because we're getting close to the end, to hear any questions you might have for us or any suggestions you have about the fellowship that you experienced and maybe something that could be improved or changed, anything like that.
Pavlo, you will meet with a fellow?
I'm sorry.
Oh,
Will you do something with a fellow?
Will I? Yeah, I would like to do something with a fellow.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry, Nia.
yeah, just suggestions, I almost said comments. I think it's because one of the video works in this exhibition has Andrew Cuomo in it. But questions, comments, concerns.
Well, I'd be curious to know why the fellowship kind of also well, kind of exists in a space where it pauses creative practices and becomes immersive in culture and community. And it'd be interesting for me to kind of understand how that kind of came about. Or Stephen, if you can maybe expand on that, it would be really lovely for us to also learn about this exciting kind of really different kind of fellowship that I think is so important.
I think being an artist is inherently conservative. And you keep doing what you are doing, and you have so much of yourself into the work that you never get the opportunity to look at it from a distance. And essentially, this is like an adult timeout where you do something different for a month to give you the opportunity to reevaluate what you're doing. Sometimes reinforces what you're doing important. So I think the main issue is that it allows you some distance to evaluate what you're doing, and it gives you new experiences to both incorporate into your life and work, just new ideas. You know, if you're in business, you have to change. Otherwise, you're not successful. But in the art world, you're out of school. Nobody is telling you to take chances. And this is that opportunity.
Thank you for
And it seems to work.
Yeah, I think so too.
You know, everybody takes their own responsibility in doing the program. And the fact that people come here and as adults, you accept the process, you know, that we're telling you to go to all of these things and you're confident in our program because each time you do something, maybe you get something out of it and it reinforces it. And certainly what you've all said today makes us feel like our efforts are well rewarded.
My question to Stephen, I think I asked you already, but I want it to be public that do you mind if other people replicating the Apex Art Fellowship program elsewhere?
You have to keep to the same strict level and standards that we have.
Okay.
You can't ask friends. You can't turn it into an insider situation. You've got to make people uncomfortable and keep them off balance as much as possible. But, you know, I mean, getting people to do new things, how can you go wrong?
Right.
And the answer is yes, please.
Thank you. I just think it's beneficial to our local communities here.
Well, if you're going to host a fellow that Nia will arrange to send, that will give you the basis to begin putting the program together because, you know, you just model it after what Nia puts together and then add your own stuff to it. But again, I take that as a significant compliment that you would think it worthy to do that. So thank you.
Exactly what I was thinking. I was like, well, let's see how you do as like a local host and how much you enjoy that before you make an
It's a lot of
entire
work.
organization
Yeah.
today.
I will revenge on them. That's the aim. I'm joking.
And any questions or comments from you, Pavlo?
Not really. I just want to say thank you for this amazing program.
Thank you, all of you, for being here, taking the time to chat with each other, to reflect on your fellowship. I mean, Pablo is here, but it's wonderful to be in the space with all of the art from all the fellows, you know, this big celebration. 25 years is a significant milestone. So yeah, thank you again. And for Fan and Kiran, have a nice rest of your night, 'cause I'm sure it's late there. And then for everyone else, have a wonderful rest of your day.